Captain Vex of the cargo ship Blue Runner stared at his ship's failing engine display with growing panic. The massive alien freighter had been limping through space for 3 days after a critical failure in the quantum drive. His crew of 6 worked frantically in the engine bay, but nothing seemed to help. "Captain," called his chief engineer, a tall reptilian named Kale, "the core is getting worse. We need to dock somewhere soon, or we'll be stuck in dead space." Vex looked at his navigation charts. The nearest repair station was a small human outpost called Gateway Station. He had heard stories about human repair bays, some good, some terrible. Most alien captains avoided them, claiming humans were reckless and used dangerous methods. "Sir, we could try to reach the Centauri repair dock," suggested his pilot, blue-skinned female named Nira. "It's only 2 more days if we push the engines." "The engines won't last 2 more days," Kale said firmly. "We need help now." Vex made his choice. Set course for Gateway Station. Send them a distress signal. As they approached the human station, Vex felt nervous. The station looked different from alien facilities, more rough and practical, with obvious modifications and additions welded onto the main structure. It didn't have the clean, perfect lines of Centauri engineering or the flowing curves of Alterian design. A human voice came over the radio. "Blue Runner, this is Gateway Control. We got your distress call. Bay 3 is ready. For you. Our repair chief will meet you at the dock." "Thank you, Gateway Control," Vex replied, trying to hide his worry. The docking went smoothly, and soon Vex found himself face to face with the human repair chief. The man was shorter than most aliens, with graying hair and oil-stained coveralls. His name was Tom. "So what's the problem, Captain?" Tom asked, looking at the massive alien ship with interest rather than concern. Vex explained the quantum drive failure, showing Tom the diagnostic readings on his tablet. The human studied the data for a few minutes, nodding occasionally. "Yeah, I can see the issue," Tom said. "Your quantum chamber is running too hot, and the cooling system can't keep up. Happens a lot with Vortanian drives when they get old." Vex was surprised. "You know Vortanian technology?" Tom smiled. "Kid, I've been fixing ships for 30 years. Seen every drive system in the galaxy at least once. Your cooling pumps are probably clogged with quantum residue. Easy fix, but you need the right tools and know-how." Within an hour, Tom and his small human crew were crawling through the engine bay of the alien ship. Vex watched nervously as they took apart systems that had cost millions of credits. But the humans worked with confidence, like they had done this 1,000 times before. "The thing about quantum drives," Tom explained while his crew worked, "is that most species overthink them. They make the systems too complex, too delicate. Then when something goes wrong, their fancy diagnostic computers can't figure out what's actually broken." Tom pulled out a simple tool that looked like nothing more than a metal rod with a sensor on the end. "This little thing tells me more about your engine than your ship's computer does. Sometimes the old ways work best." As the hours passed, Vex began to relax. The humans worked efficiently, and more importantly, they seemed to actually understand what they were doing. His own crew watched and learned, asking questions that the humans answered patiently. "There's your problem," announced one of Tom's mechanics, a young woman named Lisa. She held up a component that was black with buildup. "Quantum residue," just like Tom said. "This little part was choking your whole cooling system." By the end of the day, the Blue Runner's engines were running better than they had in months. The repair bill was surprisingly reasonable, much less than what the Centauri dock would have charged. "How did you learn to work on so many different ship types?" Vex asked Tom as they finished up. Tom shrugged. "Necessity, I guess. Humans are newcomers to the galaxy. We don't have fancy manufacturing planets or centuries of engineering tradition. When a ship breaks down out here, We fix it with whatever we have. Makes you creative. As Vex prepared to leave, he felt something he hadn't expected. Gratitude and respect for these strange humans. Maybe the stories he'd heard were wrong. Maybe human repair bays weren't so bad after all. Little did he know, word of his experience would soon spread throughout the galaxy, changing how alien captains viewed human engineering forever. 3. Weeks after leaving Gateway Station, Captain Vex found himself at the Traders' Hub, a massive space station where merchants from across the galaxy gathered to buy and sell goods. The hub was always buzzing with activity, and captains often shared stories over drinks in the station's many bars. Vex sat with a group of fellow freight captains in the Nebula Lounge, nursing a glass of Alterian wine. The conversation had turned to ship repairs, as it often did among working captains. "My port thruster failed last month," complained Captain Grix, a heavy-set alien with 4 arms. "Took the Centauri yards 2 weeks to fix it. Cost me a fortune, and I missed 3 delivery contracts." "At least you got it fixed," said Captain Mora, her tentacles waving in frustration. "The Andromedan repair bay couldn't even figure out what was wrong with my navigation system. Kept it for a month, then gave it back worse than before." Vex found himself speaking up. "You know, I had engine trouble a few weeks ago. Ended up at a human repair station." The table went quiet. Captain Grix nearly choked on his drink. "A human station? Are you crazy? Everyone knows humans just bang on things with hammers until they work." "That's what I thought too," Vex said calmly. "But they fixed my quantum drive in 1 day. Did it right the first time. Charged me half what the Centauri yards would have asked." Captain Nora's tentacles stopped moving. "Really? Which station?" "Gateway Station, in the Outer Rim." The repair chief actually knew more about Vortanian drives than my own engineer. Captain Leto, who had been quiet until now, leaned forward. "That's interesting. I heard something similar from Captain Grix last week. Side humans fixed his life support system using parts from 3 different manufacturers. Made it work better than the original." The conversation continued, but Vex noticed that several captains were taking notes on their tablets. Word was spreading, just as it always did among traders and freight haulers. Over the next few months, more stories began to circulate. Captain Yara told everyone about how humans at Port Royal had rebuilt her entire power grid in 2 days, using creative solutions that no other species had thought of. Captain Nax shared how a human repair crew had not only fixed his damaged hull, but had improved the armor plating while they were at it. The stories weren't all positive. Some captains reported that human repair bays were loud, messy, and didn't follow standard procedures. But the results spoke for themselves. Ships that worked better, repairs that lasted longer, and costs that didn't bankrupt independent traders. Dr. Thane, a scientist from the prestigious Galactic Engineering Institute, decided to investigate these claims. She visited several human repair facilities, expecting to find crude workarounds and dangerous shortcuts. Instead, she found something remarkable. The humans' approach repair work differently than any other species, she wrote in her report. "Where we see individual systems that must be maintained according to strict protocols. They see interconnected problems that can be solved creatively. Their techniques may seem unorthodox, but their success rate is undeniable." The report caused a stir in academic circles, but it was the practical results that mattered to ship captains. Human repair bays began seeing more alien customers, though many still came reluctantly. Only when other options had failed. Tom at Gateway Station found his small facility busier than ever. "Never thought I'd see the day when alien captains would line up for human repairs," he told his crew during a break. "Maybe it's because we actually listen to what's wrong instead of just running diagnostics," suggested Lisa, wiping grease from her hands. "Or maybe it's because we don't charge them for parts they don't need," added Jake, another mechanic. Tom nodded. Could be, but I think it's simpler than that. We fix things to last, not just to meet warranty requirements. When your livelihood depends on your ship, that matters more than fancy certificates and perfect paint jobs. As word continued to spread, through the Galactic shipping network, human repair bays faced a new challenge. They were becoming too popular. Stations that had once struggled to attract customers now had waiting lists. Some aliens still preferred their own species' facilities, but an increasing number were willing to take a chance on human ingenuity. The transformation was just beginning. Soon, the reputation of human repair work would extend far beyond simple freight haulers and independent traders. Even military vessels and luxury yachts would start making detours to visit human stations, drawn by stories of impossible repairs completed in record time. The galaxy was learning that sometimes the newest player on the field had the most to offer. Asterisk. Admiral Kane of the Galactic Defense Force had been skeptical when the reports first crossed his desk. Stories of human repair bays performing miracles were common gossip among merchant captains, but military vessels required a higher standard of precision and reliability. His skepticism was about to be tested. The GDF cruiser Starfire had suffered severe damage during a border skirmish with pirates. The ship's main weapon array was offline. Her shields were running at 30%. And worst of all, her faster-than-light drive had a critical malfunction that could strand the crew in deep space. The nearest military shipyard is 6 weeks away, reported Commander Nash, the ship's executive officer. At our current speed, we might not make it before the FTL drive fails completely. Admiral Kane studied the navigation charts. There was one option much closer. Darwin Station, a human repair facility that served the Outer Rim territories. He had read the intelligence reports about human repair methods, but putting a military vessel in civilian hands went against every regulation in the book. Sir, Nash said carefully, I know what you're thinking, but the crew's safety has to come first. Kane made his decision. Contact Darwin Station. Tell them we're coming in. 2 days later, the damaged cruiser limped into the human station. The facility was much larger than Gateway Station, with multiple repair bays and what looked like a small manufacturing complex attached. The commanding officer was a woman named Colonel Rivers, a former military engineer who had started the station after retiring from Earth's Space Force. Admiral, Rivers said as she boarded the Starfire, I've reviewed your damage reports. It's extensive, but nothing we can't handle. Kane tried to hide his doubt. Colonel, this is a military vessel with classified systems. Are your people cleared for this level of work? Rivers smiled. Admiral, half my crew used to work on ships just like this one. The other half learned to fix things in combat zones, where you don't have the luxury of following the manual. Your ship will be in good hands. What happened over the next week amazed Kane and his crew. The human repair teams didn't just fix the damage, they improved upon the original design. The weapon array was restored and upgraded with better targeting computers. The shield generators were not only repaired, but recalibrated to provide better coverage with less power consumption. The FTL drive repairs were the most impressive. The human engineers identified a design flaw that had made the system vulnerable to the type of damage it had suffered. Instead of simply replacing the damaged components, they redesigned the entire power coupling system to prevent future failures. How did you know to do that? Asked Lieutenant Voss, the Starfire's chief engineer, as he watched the humans work. Experience, replied the lead engineer, a gruff man named Pete. We've seen this type of drive fail before. The original designers were so focused on efficiency that they forgot about durability. A few small changes make all the difference. By the end of the week, the Starfire was operating at 110% of original specifications. Every system had been checked, repaired, or improved. The ship's computer even reported higher fuel efficiency than when she had left the shipyard. Kane was impressed, but the real test came when they rejoined the fleet. During the next patrol mission, the Starfire outperformed every other ship in the squadron. Her weapons were more accurate, her shields stronger, and her engines more responsive. "How?" asked Admiral Reeves, Kane's superior, during their next meeting. "The humans don't just follow blueprints," Kane explained. "They understand how systems work together. When they fix something, they think about how it affects everything else on the ship." Word of the Starfire's improvements spread quickly through military channels. Other commanders began to take notice, especially those operating in remote areas where human stations were the only repair option available. Captain Torres of the patrol ship Swift Arrow was the next to take the plunge. Her ship needed routine maintenance, and instead of returning to the main fleet yards, she stopped at Frontier Station, a human facility near the Galactic Rim. They finished the work in half the time it would have taken at a military yard, Torres reported to her superiors. And they found 3 potential problems that our own diagnostics had missed. The success stories continued to accumulate. Human repair bays weren't just fixing alien ships, they were making them better. Their approach was practical rather than theoretical, focused on real-world performance rather than perfect adherence to specifications, even the most traditional military. Commanders began to admit that human repair work might have merit. The evidence was too strong to ignore, and the advantages too significant to dismiss. The galactic military establishment was slow to change, but change was coming. Human repair bays were proving that innovation and practical experience could trump centuries of established tradition. Lord Arcturus owned the finest yacht in the Andromedan sector. The Golden Dawn was a masterpiece of engineering, with handcrafted components from 17 different worlds and systems so advanced that only a handful of technicians in the galaxy were qualified to service them. When the yacht's environmental systems began malfunctioning during a pleasure cruise, Arcturus naturally ordered his pilot to head for the exclusive Platinum Yards, where only the most expensive and prestigious vessels were serviced. "My lord," his pilot said nervously, "Platinum Yards is fully booked for the next 3 months. The environmental system failure is getting worse. Your guests are becoming uncomfortable." Arcturus was hosting several important dignitaries, including Ambassador Kree from the Centauri Republic and Lady Vex from the Alterian High Council. The ship's air recycling system was producing an unpleasant odor, and the temperature controls were failing in several luxury suites. "What other options do we have?" Arcturus demanded. His pilot hesitated. "There's a human facility called Oasis Station, only 2 days away. But my lord, it's just a civilian repair yard. Surely it's not suitable for a vessel of this caliber." Under normal circumstances, Arcturus would never consider taking his precious yacht to a human repair facility. But with his distinguished guests growing more irritated by the hour, he had little choice. "Fine," he said reluctantly. "But if they damage anything, I'll hold you personally responsible." Oasis Station was unlike any repair facility Arcturus had ever seen. The main bay was clean and well organized, but it lacked the marble floors and crystal decorations of the high-end yards he was accustomed to. The workers wore simple coveralls instead of elegant uniforms. The station manager, a middle-aged human woman named Helen, greeted them personally. "Lord Arcturus, welcome to Oasis Station. I understand you're having environmental system problems." "The systems are extremely sophisticated," Arcturus said stiffly. "I doubt your people have experience with Andromedan luxury engineering." Helen smiled patiently. "Let's take a look and see what we can do." Within hours, Helen's team had identified the problem. The yacht's environmental system was indeed sophisticated, perhaps too sophisticated for its own good. The designers had created a network of interdependent subsystems that were supposed to optimize air quality and climate control automatically. "The problem is here," explained Helen, showing Arcturus a diagnostic display. "Your air recycling system is running a self-optimization routine every few minutes. It's constantly adjusting itself based on sensor readings, but the sensors are giving conflicting information. The system cost more than most starships," Arcturus protested. "It was designed by the finest engineers in the Andromedan Empire." "I'm sure it was," Helen said diplomatically. "But sometimes the most elegant solution is also the simplest one. Your system is so complex that when one small thing goes wrong, it affects everything else." Helen's team spent the next 2 days not just fixing the environmental system, but simplifying it. They replaced the complicated optimization routines with straightforward, reliable controls. They added manual overrides that would allow the crew to adjust settings directly instead of relying entirely on automated systems. When they were finished, the Golden Dawn's environmental system worked better than it ever had. The air was cleaner, the temperature more consistent, and most importantly, the system was stable. "But it's so basic now," Arcturus said, looking at the simplified control interface. "Basic doesn't mean inferior," Helen replied. "It means reliable. Your system will work the same way every time, without surprises. Isn't that what you want when you're entertaining important guests?" The proof came during the yacht's next voyage. Ambassador Cree commented on how pleasant the air quality was, and Lady Vex praised the perfect temperature control in her suite. The environmental system operated flawlessly for months afterward, requiring minimal maintenance. Word of the repair spread through high society. Other luxury yacht owners, initially shocked that Arcturus had used a human repair facility, began to pay attention to the results. When the exclusive Crystal Yards botched a repair job on Baron Nex's racing yacht, he quietly took it to a human station for a proper fix. The human's reputation for reliability began to matter, more than their lack of prestigious credentials. Wealthy customers started to realize that a perfectly functioning yacht was more impressive than one with the most expensive repairs that didn't work properly. Even the luxury shipyards began to take notice. Some started hiring human technicians as consultants, learning their practical approach to complex problems. The human's influence was spreading beyond repair work into the design and manufacturing of high-end vessels. The galaxy's elite were discovering what merchants and military officers had already learned. Human engineering might not be the fanciest, but it was often the most effective. 5 years after Captain Vex first limped into Gateway Station, the galactic shipping industry had been transformed. Human repair bays were no longer the option of last resort. They had become the preferred choice for captains who valued reliability and efficiency over prestige. The change was evident at the annual Galactic Trade Conference, where shipping companies and repair facilities displayed their latest services. Human stations, once absent from the conference entirely, now occupied prime positions in the exhibition hall. Tom, from Gateway Station, found himself giving a presentation to a packed auditorium. The audience included not just ship captains and traders, but representatives from major shipyards, government officials, and even academics studying the phenomenon of human repair success. "When I started fixing ships 30 years ago," Tom said, "we were just trying to help stranded travelers get back on their way. We never imagined we'd be here today, teaching other species how to approach repair work." The statistics were impressive. Human repair bays had achieved a 97% customer satisfaction rate, compared to the galactic average of 73%. Their repairs lasted longer, cost less, and were completed faster than traditional facilities. Dr. Thane, whose earlier report had helped legitimize human repair methods, presented her follow-up study. "The success of human repair facilities isn't just about technical skill," she explained. "It's about their fundamental approach to problem solving. They focus on understanding root causes rather than just treating symptoms. The academic community had coined a term for the human approach: integrated systems thinking. Instead of viewing each component as separate, humans considered how everything worked together. This holistic view led to repairs that improved overall ship performance rather than just fixing individual problems. Captain Vex, now a regular customer at Gateway Station, had been invited to speak about his experiences. 5 years ago, I thought, humans were reckless amateurs, he admitted to the audience. Now I won't take my ship anywhere else. They don't just fix what's broken. They make everything work better. The success of human repair bays had forced the entire industry to evolve. Traditional facilities began adopting human methods, training their technicians to think more creatively and practically. Some established shipyards, hired human consultants, or entered into partnerships with human stations. The Centaura Yards, once the most prestigious repair facility in the galaxy, announced a new training program based on human repair techniques. We've learned that efficiency and innovation are more valuable than tradition, said their director, Administrator Cole, but not everyone was happy with the changes. Some alien repair facilities complained that humans had an unfair advantage because they were willing to ignore safety regulations and standard procedures. However, investigations by galactic authorities found that human repair methods were actually safer than traditional approaches, with fewer accidents and system failures. The real revolution came when major shipbuilders began consulting with human engineers during the design phase. The new generation of starships incorporated human principles of simplicity, reliability, and maintainability. These vessels were easier to repair, more fuel efficient, and more durable than their predecessors. Helen from Oasis Station had expanded her operation into a full shipbuilding facility, constructing vessels that combined the best of human engineering with alien technologies. Her ships were in high demand among independent traders and small shipping companies. We're not trying to replace anyone, Helen explained during an interview. We're just showing that there's often a better way to do things. Sometimes the most advanced solution isn't the most complicated one. The transformation wasn't limited to civilian shipping. The Galactic Defense Force had quietly established several partnerships with human repair facilities, and rumors suggested that new military vessels were being designed with human input. Admiral Kane, now retired, served as a liaison between human engineers and military procurement officers. Young aliens studying engineering increasingly sought internships at human repair facilities, eager to learn the practical skills that were revolutionizing the industry. Engineering schools across the galaxy began revising their curricula to include human repair methodologies. Tom looked out at his expanded facility, where human and alien technicians worked side by side on ships from dozens of different species. Gateway Station now employed over 200 people and served customers from across the galaxy. You know, he said to Lisa, who had become his deputy manager, I think we've started something bigger than we ever imagined. Lisa nodded, watching a Centauri cruiser dock in their largest bay. Who would have thought that the newcomers to the galaxy would end up teaching everyone else how to fix their ships? The human approach to repair work had become the new galactic standard. It wasn't about having the fanciest equipment or following the oldest traditions. It was about understanding how things really worked and finding the best way to make them work better. The galaxy had learned to trust human repair bays because humans had proven that practical experience and creative thinking could accomplish what centuries of established procedures could not. The end asterisk.